I feel like I just got a glimpse into Brandon Sanderson's brain, and how do you even sleep at night? Hey guys, James here, and we're back with another Storytellers Guild book review. Today we're going to be talking about Mistborn Book 2, Well of Ascension. In this book, Vin and Elend are left in charge of kind of the fractured remnants of what was the Lord Ruler's final empire. Elend is king of Luthadel. Essentially, they are under siege and a challenge to be king, and so Elend has to learn how to rule Luthadel, how to become king, and how to kind of deal with the aftermath of the final empire and whatever threat or danger may be left in the world now that the Lord Ruler is not offering his power and possibly protection. I thought this book was, well, it was insane. It was insane in good ways and it was insane in bad ways, but it was just a lot. Honestly, I think my opinions of it are almost the opposite of what I thought of Mistborn. So Mistborn, it was a very kind of structured heist plot. It had a clear idea of where it was going, and then some cool world building and maybe a little bit of kind of like rushed pacing and craziness at the end. Whereas this book, I feel like it was just an explosion. It felt like a rather violent breaking out from that formula in the first book, and I think that served in some positive ways, but definitely some detrimental ways. I have to say that I think this book was just all over the place. I didn't hate what it was doing. I didn't hate the characters. I thought the characters, the storylines, the magic systems, the plot itself was fascinating. I really liked a lot of the new characters that were introduced, especially the antagonists. Obviously, no spoilers here, but there were some antagonists or people related to those antagonists that were just kind of fascinating foils to Vin, Elend, and our group, the leftover group of heroes from the last book. I think my biggest hang-up with all of that is that it was just a lot. Sanderson was trying to do so much in a single book, and I think at least partly the result was a little bit frazzled. I think, especially in the beginning and middle aspects of middle parts of the book, there were just so many things going on that it was impossible to stay focused or stay fully engaged in a single character story. And I think even sometimes there felt like there was this almost need to resolve these conflicts, like these sort of mini conflicts that happened throughout the story, much faster than they needed to be resolved. And so it just felt like it was moving at a million miles an hour. That being said, I am left like sprinting to go get the next book and read it, because like the ending is incredible. So it's really weird for me. Like let me explain. For Mistborn, for me, it was very well structured, really cool characters, really cool character arcs, and the ending was just a little bit rushed, and so it left me with kind of like a bad taste in my mouth. But overall, pretty good story and like incredible world building. This book was almost the opposite. There was a lot going on. And I felt really disengaged, kind of, especially throughout the middle aspect of the book. It almost felt like it just got to the point where and this doesn't happen for everybody, but it happens for me at least, where once you kind of get pulled out of the story a little bit, then you start noticing other things and going like, that dialogue is weird there, or this aspect of this story is, or this character wouldn't do this thing here, or that's kind of dorky there. And I felt very much in that state. But the last 6-7 chapters of this book, I was gripped to my chair, turning every single page. I could not put it down, and it was a freaking incredible ending. Like an incredible ending. Perfectly nuanced, perfectly structured, perfectly all of it. And it felt like it hit much better than the first book. It was very cathartic, and all these aspects sort of came fully together and were really well explained and done. Overall, though, I liked a lot of the characters, especially the ideas of characters. I think every once in a while, the dialogue or just kind of how quickly these little mini arcs were resolved damaged some of these characters in just their realism. And it would just be like, when you're walking that line of like, this has to be really epic or very serious and kind of shattered and broken, and it would just go like, a little emo or like a little try hard. And sometimes that's the character, but sometimes that set to take me out of it. The storyline with Elend especially, and kind of like learning how to rule, that was maybe my favorite part of the book, or at least kind of my favorite idea. Once again, it felt a little bit rushed in how they did it, but I did really love that idea. I think Sanderson came in with this sort of nuance and this intrigue. I don't know, just this way of looking at what it means to be a leader, what it means to be a hero, what it means to be a good person. And I thought that was incredible. There are a lot of themes that, at least towards the end of the book, as they're kind of coming into conflict and then being resolved or proved wrong or whatever, that I really love in this book overall. You know, you have ideas of love and leadership and violence and what it means to fight a war. What is a just war? What's a just government and a just leadership? And even kind of towards the end, what is the role of religion and faith, right? Hope, these terms that we throw around. And I mean, that's deep. That's awesome. Really, really unique things. The world building with this one was different. It felt like a transitional period. I'm very excited for the final book here. This one felt a little bit less world building heavy than the first book did, which is understandable. So the magic system obviously is still as incredible as always. And I did really enjoy seeing like the full strength, especially at a few points in the book, of what it means to be a Mistborn, an allomancer in general, even a terraceman, right? Like a ferrochemist, right? That was cool as well. And we really got to explore those concepts and see them in action, not just in like the learning stage, which I feel like in any world, right? You got Star Wars being a Jedi or Harry Potter being a wizard. That's always fun, right? To see it like, no, I want to see this like unleashed. And so obviously, just from a thrill factor, that was really cool. I think this book was not nearly as heavy on the world building and sort of like the lore or just different aspects as the first book was. And I missed that. Not that it would have had a place in this narrative necessarily. Like, I'm not even saying that's a bad thing, but I definitely think it was less heavy on that. And I think that depending on where the story is going, that will be an aspect that will be explored much more in the following book. The politics was really cool. I thought that was fascinating. We kind of dealt with, you know, you start in Mistborn with sort of peacetime politics, right? These like inter-houses in this one kingdom, whereas this book really delved into the aftermath of war. That, right, to Sanderson's credit, is a really interesting exploration of what it means, right? You read all these books and you go, oh, happily ever after. But what happens after the happily ever after, right? That's not how these things work. When you get married and you fall in love, it's not just that easy. When you start a revolution and win, it doesn't just go back to normal. You have to find a way to bring people together, to have a structure, to have these sorts of things. And even exploring the idea that I thought they did a great job of the difference between you can have practical knowledge versus book knowledge and what that really means. So really, really fascinating concepts. I think, like I said, overall, the plot itself is what blew me away. I mean, if you're reading this book, tough through it, because I was, and it paid off more than I could have ever hoped, right? Like I said, there were moments in this book where I was really having a tough time reading more of it. That the actual storyline itself was always intriguing, but like I said, I think this book definitely has some low points when it comes to dialogue, even more than just the prose, which I understand are not Sanderson's specialty. There were definitely points in which dialogue just felt sort of out of time or dorky or really try hard, and it took me out of the story. But I cannot say enough how I do not regret sticking through. The way that Sanderson weaves this story and weaves elements of the story together with such subtlety and delicacy and just into this masterful finale, it blew me away. Like I said, I had a full 180 about how I felt about this book in the last like 5 chapters. It was awesome. So I think overall it's a good read. I'm torn because in a lot of ways I think it's worse than Mistborn, and in a lot of ways I think it's better than Mistborn. And in the most recent way, the way that it ended, it feels like it's like I ended this book feeling better than I did when I ended reading Mistborn. That makes me torn as like a book reviewer. I think this book is coming in at a 6.5 or a 7. I think I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10, which is the same as Mistborn. And look, I realize too, I may be more or less harsh than other people. I know there's a lot of people who love Sanderson and love his characters and what he does with them. As always, the spoiler discussion of this story is going to be linked in the description down below on the Storytellers Guild. If you want to go ahead and check that out, when you sign up for the Storytellers Guild, you'll get access to that, as well as all the other spoiler discussions we've done, Write With Me streams, lo-fi, and the opportunity once a month to publish your own short story. Let me know what you guys thought of Well of Ascension in the comments down below. And yeah, thank you guys for stopping by. As always, keep reading, keep writing, and I'll see y'all next time.